Kinesiology taping for a groin strain. The adductors, so many muscles that adduct the hip. And what you'll see with all of them here is that they originate on the pelvis and then cross the hip onto the femur, or indeed down to the lower limb. We have Pectineus, gracilis, adductor brevis, longus, magnus, minimus, and the obturator externus. Now, in terms of which one we're treating in terms of that groin strain, it could be one of a number. Assessment is important, and also locating where your client feels pain. Often the fibres of all of these muscles blend together, so even doing a general taping in that short adductor area around the area where your client feels discomfort will get the desired effect. Your client will generally complain of discomfort, pain, potentially even swelling, weakness or bruising on the inside top of the hip, so in that groin area. They will often have discomfort in walking, running, squatting, or into a stretch where that leg has been brought into abduction. As always, get to know the client, their activities of daily life, what kicking, twisting or side-to-side movements they tend to perform. If this is a recurring issue, then looking at things like posture, gait, hip stability, hip movements, or getting them to do the actions of their daily life or their training where they tend to feel the discomfort. All of this can give you clues as to what's going on more globally while you treat locally. So this is going to feed into your longer term plan to prevent this injury from reoccurring. So the acute and early subacute phase. Here we're going to look at a two-step taping, one to inhibit the short adductor group and two to desensitize the tissue where the client feels discomfort. If there's any bruising or swelling, you might also want to add a drainage type taping, remembering that the nearest lymph nodes would be the inguinal, so ensuring that you anchor your tape appropriately. Inhibition, so we're going to start by anchoring away from the midline of the body. So I'm going to anchor about halfway up the inside of the leg. So tear back the first inch or two of the tape, and we're going to anchor it with no tension on the tape and no stretch on the tissue. Now we're going to bring the leg into a little bit of abduction and add a light amount of stretch on the tape, rubbing it down well to stick. Now simply ask your client to anchor that tape on the inside of the hip, as that's going to come right up onto the inside of the groin. Next, we're going to desensitize the tissue, so asking my client where they feel the most discomfort. Middle of the tape back, light amount of stretch and light tension on the tape, straight down over the area of discomfort. Anchor with no tension and no stretch, rubbing well to stick. Next, subacute and remodeling. Here we want to activate that short adductor group. We're into rehabilitation and re-strengthening the new fibres in the strained area. You might also want to combine this with any wider treatment goals that you have. For example, things to activate hip stability, foot mechanics or posture that will all help as part of the long-term treatment goal. Activation, so we're going to anchor towards the midline of the body. So tear back that first couple of inches of the tape. Now, in the direction of the area you're working, ask your client to anchor the tape. No stretch and no tension on the tape. Next, peel back the active portion and add light amount of stretch to the tape and also stretch into abduction. Rub well to stick and then simply anchor with no tension on the tape, no stretch on the tissue.